But then on the other side of it, guys, so let's go through this list if I have it correctly. The DeAndre Hopkins is to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper is now in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams, I'm not saying a contender for the Jets, but Devontae Adams has now gone to the Jets. A lot of wide receivers. I think it's fair to say for Baltimore, they don't need to go and get an offensive player in my mind. They don't need to.
No.
They're doing well. Rashad Bateman, man, he looked great, and he continues to prove why he was a valuable asset to Baltimore in the offseason, why they wanted to extend him. Zay Flowers, talented player. Derrick Henry, that's enough can be said about him. But on the defensive side, maybe that's where the Ravens could add to their Super Bowl run, is maybe going after a certain pass rusher perhaps. And Peter Schrager on Good Morning Football actually had these comments. So let's play that clip and we'll react on that.
They don't need a wide receiver. Do the Ravens start looking for pass rushers? And I look at names around the league that could be, on the block. And last year, they got a career year out of Jadeveon Clowney. He's 30 years old right now. Jadeveon Clowney is wasting away in Carolina on a team that's going nowhere. Do they pick up the phone and say, I know he signed for big money last year with you guys. Is there any way you'll eat some of the salary that's left and we can bring him back for this stretch run? I look at Zadarius Smith, who's in the division over there in Cleveland. I look at some of these teams that we expected to be maybe playoff contender teams that have these big veteran pass rushers, and I wonder if they do the same thing they did last year when they brought in a Kyle Van Noy and a Clowney, and they added some of those veteran guys to just get them over the hump. I do think this defense right now, which is so strange talking about a Baltimore team, is their Achilles heel, and I just don't know if that's going to be there in the backbone of the team when it matters in the cold weather in January.
So the part that he was focusing on with Peter initially is this something, is it a need that Baltimore needs? And I see this, Johnny, is saying we need more offensive depth. Well, a guy like Mike Williams has now become expendable there in New York. Do you go and get another wide receiver to have depth? But I think on the other side, what we've seen, the Ravens have talent on the defensive side, but pass rush, you can never have too much of it. That's why they still went out and got Yannick Ngakoue to sign him to a deal, because why? You're trying to bolster your pass rush. So, guys, Zadarius Smith, and people forget, Zadarius was signed with Baltimore until he wasn't a couple of years ago.
Thanks, Vaughn.
Do we bring him back? Does he come back to Baltimore? But I think above all, and Zach, you can lead off with it, that would be something I think a lot of Ravens fans would be happy about if they went after another elite type of pass rusher to help bolster this defense.
Yeah, and a lot of people we talk about, I know the big kind of argument right now, we can talk about receiver, the depth about that. And then obviously a lot of people saying, hey, go get secondary. You're struggling against the pass. Go get secondary help. I don't necessarily think it's a talent thing in the secondary still. And we're going to get into this in a little bit, but I think it's still complete miscommunications. I think that's the biggest thing hurting the secondary right now. But then as well as there hasn't been as much pressure when the Ravens are sending just 4 guys on basic downs when they're not bringing blitzes. It feels like the pressure isn't always getting there or affecting the quarterback. So you go get a guy like Zadarius Smith, like Jadeveon Clowney. You get a guy who then helps bolster the pass rush. You can get him in there to disrupt the quarterback. And even if the quarterback has to throw it a second earlier, that's a second less, half second less that the wide receiver has to be covered by the corner. That he's got to be covered by Roquan. That he's got, these holes that the offense is finding in the secondary. Those holes get covered up if the quarterback has less time to throw. So I think this is one of those, let me help you, get the defensive specialist that can go rush the quarterback, have him go off, be like, go get the quarterback, put pressure on the offense. And now the secondary doesn't have to cover as long, which takes pressure off them.
Well, and just to finish off with this, and I don't know if Kev, or Brad will end with you on the point then, but Kev, real quickly here, I think when you look around at some of the best teams out there specifically, they're able to control the line of scrimmage. And for Baltimore, that's something that they've always took pride on. And they do that, relatively speaking, against the run game. They were the number 1 rushing defense up until last week. The Bucs had some success running the football, but overall, that's been a strong suit for Baltimore. They have certain guys, but you're seeing around the league, and other teams that I think are similar to Baltimore. Like I would look at San Francisco in the sense of they want to be tough. They want to try to get after the quarterback. They want to be aggressive. and they have a really good run game. Now, different quarterbacks, obviously, but it just seems like a pass rusher would really fit the need of what Baltimore could use here for the second half of the season.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, when you talk about in the secondary, I'm with Zach. I don't think it's a talent issue. I mean, where would that guy play? I mean, for as much as people want the Ravens to give up on Marcus Williams, they're not going to. I mean, they're going to ride that out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen.
Makes no sense.
Corner room, Brandon Stevens, Nate Wiggins, obviously Marlowe's there. I mean, that to me, I get. Now, the thing that I will say with that is if someone goes down, that, like, for example, wide receiver, yes. Yeah. But in the pass rushing department, Baltimore already has 6 pass rushers on their roster. So if they add somebody, you'd either have to put Elisa Isaac on IR, you move on from Ngakoue to get more of a 3-down player potentially, because you can't keep 7 outside linebackers. That's even 5 is pushing it a little bit. So to me, I think that, yes, Zadarius Smith would fit a role nicely. Jadeveon Clowney, I've heard, from the social media airwaves, is Calais Campbell maybe an option on the defensive line? If Miami keeps losing, would they trade him or maybe outright cut him and do right by him? And is that a player that Baltimore would love to have back? I would love him back in Baltimore. But I think when you talk about what John Harbaugh has said, the pass rush and the secondary are married together. And right now, they could not be further single. Like, they are single right now. They're just not on the same page. And I can sense that, strong start for Van Noy. Ngakoue's had moments. Oweh's had moments here and there. Ajabo had maybe 1 or 2 this season. They need more consistency there, because right now, guys are getting way too much time in the pocket. In the pass rush success we saw against Tampa, those sacks were in garbage time. We can be honest about that.
Yeah. And also then, Brad, you can finish it out here with the point, bring you back on. But essentially, too, for the Ravens, finish, like having a finisher on that side. We talk about Derrick Henry on offense as the finisher, the punisher in the fourth quarter. On the other side for Baltimore, they're looking at who can be those guys that can finish out the game here when Baltimore has the lead and you're able to put it away securely. Who is that guy that's going to step up and be that? I think is still the question that remains.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what you guys are saying as far as the pass rush is concerned, but the secondary is really where a lot of the problems are as well. The defense can't play man. I don't know what's going on there. We've heard some. We'll have a comment here from Chuck Pagano that a lot of these issues are fixable, but Sean Lattimore has been shopped around or is reportedly being shopped around as a potential trade candidate, and I think that would be a huge addition to the secondary, in my opinion. The rush could always use some extra bodies out there to put pressure on the QB, but these guys are getting open regardless. So I just think that if we had somebody else in the secondary, add some more depth back there. Marlon's actually been stepping up and playing some really good ball lately, but we've seen a lot of these guys getting beat. And look, they've been playing some really elite wide receivers, but these are the types of wide receivers you're going to see in the playoffs too. So you got to be able to get a lockdown corner. Sean Lattimore could be that guy. We'll see. But I think that it's more than just the pass rush that's the issue there for the Ravens. I think they're 29th or 30th in big plays or plays over 20 yards or something like that, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think that it's a marriage. When you're able to have guys that can get after the quarterback, it can help then your secondary not have to be relied on as much, and vice versa. If the secondary is so locked down, then you can then blitz or find different ways to apply pressure. But right now, it's not either way is insane.